Despite all the momentum heading towards a strike, everything stopped when Denver Public Schools filed the official request for the state to intervene.
It wouldn't be surprising to see
with Alexandra Hall at the Department of Labor and Employment. Since DPS filed on the 23rd, by rule, the teachers' union has 10 days to respond. If the union does not want intervention, as it has stated, and files a response, say, today, the 24th, then the Department of Labor has up to 14 days to decide if it wants to step in. Hence the delay.
The legislature did not intend for the state to make a decision like that without weighing the facts of the situation. So that takes thoughtfulness and time.
Last year, when Pueblo teachers went on strike, neither side asked for intervention, so the state stayed out of it, allowing the strike, which lasted 5 days. If the state does intervene, the options it can offer are more mediation, closed-door negotiations, or unbiased fact-finding.
Do we think one of those tools truly would be effective at moving the discussions much further than where they are now?
That is the question the state must answer in deciding whether to get involved or just let the strike go on. Now, here's the tricky part. The governor and Department of Labor and Employment can certainly make a decision sooner than 14 days, which is why the union has been saying it is, quote, highly unlikely the strike will happen on Monday. But if the union does file its response soon, the state can possibly issue its decision on whether or not to intervene before January 28th. No intervention would mean the strike moves on as planned. If the state does intervene, it will have 180 days to help both sides reach an agreement, which could possibly derail the strike altogether. Tom, Kim, while all this is going on, both sides can certainly go back to the bargaining table if they choose.
I think when you look at the brass tacks, 180 days gets you through the school year, if nothing else, and then you'd think summertime would be a great time to get this all worked out.
Absolutely. And you know, another question people have been asking is, if the district had filed for its request to intervene, can the state have just said, no, we've already made our decision, and just kind of told them right away that they weren't going to intervene? The answer is actually no, they had to enter into this process by law, so no matter what, we'd be here deciding all this right now.
I think especially with the climate of the federal government shutdown, people are looking for not having this going on right now. I know both sides would like a solution. I certainly know students, teachers, and parents are all on the same side of that, getting it fixed. Thanks, Nelson.
You're welcome.
All right. Thank you, Nelson.